everybody, my name is Jack. I'm a designer here at ONTHEBIASDESIGN. In today's video, we are going to quickly talk about tech packs, everything tech packs, what they're for, why do we use them, and we're going to break down an example tech pack for you in this video. So hopefully you get a better idea of what they are, what they're used for, and you feel confident as you go on to create your next one. You can use this video as a guide. I hope you don't mind the webcam. Hopefully the audio is nice enough from this nice microphone, but we're not going to be on the video for long. So let's go ahead and jump into an example tech pack, and I can start explaining some things. So what is a tech pack? A tech pack is essentially a set of instructions. It's basically a blueprint for a garment. You see we have different construction details, different things that are included, and it's basically to ensure, the reason why we use them is to properly ensure that our garment is being created correctly, because if you don't create a tech pack and you just provide basic instructions, basically the more things you leave open to interpretation for your garment manufacturer, the more likely a mistake is to occur. And that is why you use tech packs, and that is why you specifically create detailed tech packs, so you have something to, hang on, I'm gonna go back to this. So you have something to really, it's a concrete path for your factory, if that makes sense. It's like they know what's at every seam, what's at every stitch, etc. They know the dimensions of all your artwork. They know how to package your garments. It's basically any conceivable detail you could think of involved in your garments. And something very important is, why are tech packs, I'm going to go back to Illustrator, why are tech packs formatted this way? Why are they all, 8.5 by 11 and whatnot? And why are they're usually horizontal, but why is that? So I've printed out a couple pages of this example tech pack, black and white, sorry. Usually they are printed by the factory, and as you can see, we have a border along the edge. It's very important, so for when they print it out, they don't have to, because printers can't, not all printers can print at the edge. In fact, majority can't. So it's important to have a border, as we have on ours. But yeah, they print them out. They also reference them on the computers, of course, but they often like to print them out. Which is a advantage of having an 8.5 by 11, is it's extremely efficacious to print. Let's go back to Illustrator. Okay, let's start breaking this down page by page. Hopefully you have the tech packs are a fairly simple concept about why they exist. It's not incredibly complicated. It's just to smoothen things for manufacturers and smoothen things for, I'm gonna go back to this actually, and to smoothen things for you as a designer as well, because you want your vision created as close to your vision as your garment to be as close to your vision as possible, and your factory doesn't want to have to do guesswork in your designs, because it's part of your job as a designer to be specific as you can and be as good as you can at giving them the instructions on how to fulfill your vision. The factory doesn't want to design. I mean, maybe some do, I don't know. But they don't want to design. They don't want to have to be in the position where they have to start filling in details themselves. Some might not mind it, but mostly it's not very efficient for them, because then they have to come up with details, whereas you can make it easier for both. You can make it easier for yourself, and you can make it easier for the designer, or the factory, sorry. And then you don't have to worry about any it's not gonna get rid of all problems, but it just smoothens the process a lot more, and you'll have a much more in-depth idea of what it is you're going to receive in your sample. So let's go back to Illustrator and let's start open this up. Yeah, typically they're made in Illustrator. We make all ours in Illustrator, and we actually have a blank tech pack template here, but we're mostly going to reference the filled out tech pack template just because it's easier to visualize things. So the first page, this is called a cover page. This is a brief snapshot of what it is contained in the tech pack, namely the garment. This template is from our website, so this is what we'll be using on ONTHEBIASDESIGN.com. You get a blank tech pack template and this example one, but obviously, you don't need it to know what a tech, or to learn what a tech pack is. But on the cover here, we have some basic information. We have a front and back flat sketch. We just have the brand logo, the brand that was made for. Contact phone number, contact email. That's very important. I'm going to do the marquee. Very important that you do this, because that's how your factory will be contacting you, and you need to be ready, available, because production moves along so quickly. And sometimes if you don't reply, they're just gonna move on and say, for example, they have a question about, what kind of seam is this, or they won't ask anything that specific, or they might say, where does this go, or if you forget to include something in your tech pack, or you don't include something, and if they ask you a question and you don't reply soon enough, they might just move on, because they don't want to be stuck on your project forever. They run a business. So this is a cover page, and in our tech pack template specifically, this is kind of a supplementary cover page. You don't have to include this if you don't want to, but it's kind of nice to have a couple, because this is also a cover page. This is a little bit more in-depth cover page, but as you can see in the example, we used both. So now we see a lot of information here. Let's start breaking this down. Okay, first off, we have our label. That's obviously the brand, Hermitage. We have our main fabric, and now this is the fabric that was used in the majority of the body fabric, essentially, of the garment. For that, this was 100% cotton jersey. Now that's t-shirt material. Most oftentimes, we have just a brief technical description of that. Nothing too crazy there. We have the style name. I highly recommend creating a style name for your garment. It makes it a lot easier to appear more professional, because the more professional you appear, the better your tech pack, the more seriously your factory will take you. Because essentially what a factory, I can go back to this, it's a little bit more engaging. The factory essentially wants to create long-term relationships, long-term business relationships, because that's just the healthiest business practice, just to have serious clients, to have recurring clients and whatnot. So and it's just little details like tech packs, like if you have your own domain email, things like that will make you look a little bit more serious, or make you look a little bit more advanced in the fashion brand journey, I suppose, fashion design journey. That will make them take you a little bit more seriously, and hopefully they'll reply to your queries more often, because of it's not going to be guaranteed because you have a style name, but it's just those little things. And it's easier for internal organization too, if you have style names. And it's also a nice way of telling your brand story a little bit more. So let's go back to Illustrator. Yeah, style names make them. Season, obviously, the season you want it to be released in, not the season you're designing it in, because typically you design it, well, not typically, you always design it at least a little bit ahead, usually 6 months, if you're a traditional fashion retailer. But I mean, if you're a small brand or you don't really care about the traditional fashion cycle, it doesn't really matter. This is more so just for organization. And these are all, not all these are optional, but some of these are. Like I would absolutely have label, main body fabric, sample size, technical designer, size range. It's a good idea just to have all these, to be honest, at least on the cover page if possible. And then we're going to sample size. This is a sample size medium. That's the most common size in the fashion industry, size medium, because it's the middle of a size range. If you think about the typical size range of a garment, it is extra small to double XL, triple XL, but medium is kind of that nice middle ground. And for the grader and the pattern makers, it's easier for them if they start from the middle and go outwards, Because if you start from, say, extra small and work your way up to a double XL, it's going to be very, very difficult. So it's easiest if you start from medium, maybe a large sometimes, and then work your way out. But this isn't a video about pattern making or grading or anything, but just know that's why it's a medium. It's easier. I know it can be tempting, very, very, very tempting to get a larger size, or get your size for a sample as you want to wear it. You can get a prototype of your size, but for that initial sample, get your size, or get the size medium, because it's just easier, and less mistakes are likely to be made that way. All right, what do we have next? Size range, as I was saying earlier, talking about size range. Technical designer, that's whoever, hey, that's me. Whoever did the tech pack, just put their name there, pretty self-explanatory. Because this can be different from the actual designer itself. You can have somebody design something in the company, but then somebody else can do the technical pack for it, and you put the person who did the technical pack for it. Department, unisex streetwear is what we have here. So department, I'm going to go back to the camera. So the department is pretty important for the manufacturer. Usually, it's not super important, but it just helps them know what segment of the market you're in. And if you don't know, just do a little bit of market research. You probably should know before you even launch. But if you don't really care about that so much, you can do a little bit of research and find out pretty easily. It just helps the manufacturer know, just because different manufacturers specialize in kind of different segments of the market, and like different quality of construction or different quality of fabrics is used, and different construction details might be used in certain things more so than others. So it's definitely worth putting, just to help your manufacturer visualize what kind of brand you are, what part of the market you sit in. It's just easier for everybody. So even if it doesn't matter to your brand, just do it. Because like little things that, because for example, if you have your manufacturer sourcing something for you, and we will talk about sourcing a little bit later, but they'll source things that correspond to your market position, because, or just your overall, it's very broad obviously, but it'll be more relevant to you, but we can talk about that a little bit later. Back to Illustrator. Okay, what else do we have? Size range, style number. Style number is also highly recommended. This is a number that you generate within your brand. It's good for managing inventory, stuff like that. It's different from an SKU sometimes, but that can be a topic for a different video. But yeah, style number, if you have one. If you don't, you can make one. Last updated. This is pretty good too to have. Just helps keep things chronologically organized. And here we have a description. This is a fairly brief technical description of what it is your garment is. In this case, it's a pair of unisex elastic hidden drawstring shorts. Pretty self-explanatory. Try to be concise as possible. Here we have an index. This is a pretty large document, so we don't want our manufacturers to get lost in the sauce. So give them a little guide, let them know what's up on our pages. Here, nice little touch. Here's a logo that's on the templates as well. You can take that out and put your logo there. Definitely recommend it. Just helps keep things organized. And here we have our body fabric color. You don't have to put it on the first page, but I find it best to, because it's the most important color. Obviously, it's the main color of your garment, so we find it beneficial to put that on the cover page. And quickly, I haven't talked about these yet, but what these are flat sketches. Oops. These are flat sketches. And I can talk about these on the camera, so it's a little bit more engaging. So those are flat sketches, and they are garment flats. They're garments drawn flat or nearly entirely flat. And the purpose of those is to help the manufacturer and the designers visualize what it is that they are creating, and they're different from mock-ups in the fact that flats, I'll show you on paper, that flats are drawn a very certain way because it's easier to see the technical details, if that makes sense. Because if you have an ultra realistic mock-up, it's sometimes hard to see all the seams, all the stitching, whatever. So that's why this kind of art style is used, this kind of style of rendering. It's a lot easier for everybody to see what's there is what's there. That's why fashion designers, that's why a lot of people who make tech packs don't use, basically everybody who makes tech packs don't use ultra realistic mock-ups, and if they do, it's supplemental to these, because you can see quite easily. I guess this is printed, so it's a little bit harder to see, but you can see. I'll go back to Illustrator. Like here, you can see quite easily there's stitching here. Hey, this is a pocket. It's just a very easy to read visual language of rendering garments in a technical way. Hopefully that briefly explains what they are and why this art style is so important. You can obviously use Clo 3D supplemental all day, but in my opinion, those are more so supplemental because these are very easy to read, and even if there's a active language, spoken language barrier, these can kind of help bridge that a little bit. But yeah, on our cover pages, we have color flats. We'll go into black and white flats later. Excuse me. So we're on our first real page. I guess this is page 2. So this page is, did we get everything? Just want to be sure. Yeah, oh yeah. So things like description, I'm just going to make some more spoken notes, I guess. So just do things like, you can mention again the fabric, some features, things such as pockets. You can mention the fit. You can just mention different things. It doesn't have to be incredibly complicated. And then here we have our body fabric color. And we're going to talk about Pantone at some point, perhaps in a separate video. We'll talk about it a little bit here, but more in depth in a separate video. But basically, Pantone is the industry standard for fashion, like fabrics and whatnot. But if you're doing a cotton color, anything like that, just definitely research colors a bit before making a tech pack, because that'll be extremely important. But yeah, we have a swatch of our color here. Pantone TCX, that's for cotton. Let's see, here we have our flat sketches and technical details. These are in color, so we keep our flats in color. Yeah, we just have various technical details, labeling things. Label as much as you can. That's what you have a tech pack for. You're labeling things, you're labeling garments. We have some various measurements here. Stitching details. We talk about a bit about thread. And I'm not going to explain absolutely everything that's in a tech pack, because it will depend garment to garment, but hopefully this will be a nice resource for you, kind of an initial exposure, I suppose. But yeah, it's too much for one video, but back to Illustrator. Okay, so yeah, so we have some woven labels here, so we're just labeling things: side pocket, elastic waist with casing, just different things, and this will all depend on your garment. So obviously you can't just take the exact same wording, but unless you're making the exact same garment. But so yeah, pretty self-explanatory. Flat sketches and technical details, and in a little bit we'll talk about some books. At the end, we'll talk about some books and some other resources that can help you know what to put with yours. Okay. Now we're on the flat sketches and technical details, black and white. So we have some more technical details, just saying everything we can about our garment, so it's easier to manufacture. We have some more stitching information, some seam information, and then this is very important. So this here, this is a what's called a technical call out. This is a zoomed in view of a particular part of your garment to show technical detail. These are very important because you can have just front and back. Oh, and going back to flat sketches, at a bare minimum, you need front and back. Bare minimum, front and back flat sketches. Anything more supplemental, anything less is potentially detrimental. But anyway, yeah, so we have our flat sketches, but we also need, our call outs as well to really drive home what it is that we are making. Excuse me again. So yeah, things about artwork, etc. And you notice we have a picture. Pictures are, I'm gonna go back to this. So pictures and tech packs are incredibly important. I can't emphasize that enough because they help drive home information. The tech pack is such an important source of information because it is the information that gets your garment brought to reality, your garment idea brought to reality in a factory setting at least. So it's basically what you're doing with everything that you put into a tech pack. You're communicating information, and an efficient way to do that obviously is photos. So things, for example, I'll go over some quickly in the example. So here we have a waistband construction reference. Here we have a drawstring reference. Here we have a print reference. Just basically anything you can reference with photos, whether it's fit, construction, artwork, a type of embroidery, etc. We'll talk about these later. Use pictures because pictures are incredibly important. Excuse me. And it's imperative that you place them into your tech packs. Going on to the next page, continued flat sketches and technical details. Pretty not self-explanatory, I guess, but the concept is the same. We have some other views. This is an inside of the waistband view. We show our hidden drawstrings. These are all drawn with brushes and assets available on our website. So you can look there for a lot of tools that you might need to create a tech pack, manufacturer ready tech pack. But yeah, some different things we're labeling: our care labels, our woven size labels, how they're going to be put in. We have a drawstring reference. Yeah, if you have a garment already on hand, or like a previous sample, you can take pictures of that and put it in. And I'll give a little spiel on the camera too. So the nice thing about the pictures is they just really help you communicate, because there's tech packs help solve a problem, and that problem is that your garment doesn't exist yet. So the more skill you can use to, or I guess the more effectively you can communicate that problem, the more likely it is to be solved as you want it to be solved. So yeah, like pictures, the goal is to have pictures, language, that being, the captions or the labeling of the things, and the flats working together to really drive home, like, hey, this is how you make this. This is here, this is there, yada, yada, yada. And it doesn't leave any doubt, okay? That's the whole point of tech packs. And the more detail, the better. So, and I want to talk quickly about a couple places where you can find pictures. So, local thrift stores, I think, are incredibly slept on for finding. Every thrift store, I guess any garment store in general, but thrift stores are basically a library of garment construction, artwork application, types of embroidery, types of printing, etc. You can go there, you can take pictures for free. And what I love about thrift stores though too is you can buy the clothes there from there for pretty cheap, so you can have that actively in your closet, which you can use it as a source of inspiration, a catalog, or whatever, because you can take pictures of the details, send it to your manufacturer, and even if you don't know the name of something, and we'll talk about that later. How you can have help identifying different technical details, different trims too. But yeah, thrift stores are nice because you can own it for pretty cheap, and tech packs and product development are pretty lengthy process, so it's a good idea to have the garment on hand for a long time, as long as possible, in case you need more pictures or you need to reference it again. Just a good idea to hold on to it. Like, yeah, you can take pictures in the store, but then sometimes if you need more pictures, and it might be gone. And same thing with retail stores too. Like, say you go to Saks or you go to Barney's and you take pictures of stuff there. Like, yeah, that's nice, but if further, say a month down the line, when you get your sample back and you are revising your tech pack and you need more pictures, or you're correcting the manufacturer and you need more pictures, then you're kind of left in the dust if that item is gone. And you can always buy and return it later, depending on return policy. But it's not something you have to do. You don't have to do that. You can always use Google. You can always do Google and find. Hang on, maybe we can do some right now. We can do oversized hoodie, and we can go on images, and we can include one of these. Like, we can do talk about the wash of our garment, and we can use an example like this, and just use this as a reference photo. So Google is always free. Google Images is always free. You can take pictures from the internet and use them in your tech pack templates, or just in your tech pack. Sorry. Anyway, back to the continue flat sketches. So yeah, we're just going over more things. This isn't going to be a Adobe Illustrator tutorial per se, but I'll give you guys a couple basic pointers. Okay, so these red arrows. Oh, I want to talk about fonts quick too. So you'll notice we have some pretty basic fonts here. I believe this is Myriad Pro and this is Arial. You're going to want to stick to basic fonts, because the more basic a font, the more computers are likely to have it, because you need to, if you don't outline, you're going to be sending these most likely as a PDF. You really should be sending these as a PDF. And if you don't outline them before, then your manufacturer is going to have it on the font on their computer. Otherwise, they'll get an error message when they open it saying, oh, we don't have this font. And basically, it will be a little bit more difficult to read, and fonts will be changed. So just outline your font, or outline your entire tech pack before you export it. But always save an extra too. I'll show ahead, and we'll go to strokes in a little bit, the arrows in a little bit. But to outline, just go ahead and select everything, then go to object and expand appearance. You'll do that a couple times. I'm not going to do it right now just because it would slow everything down. This is an unoutlined example tech pack, just because things are a little there's a lot here, so if we outline this, it'd be a little bit slower for the purpose of the tutorial. But yeah, going back to the strokes. So if I'm watching, or if you're watching this, I'm assuming you're gonna have a little bit of Illustrator experience already. Basically, a stroke is just a line that goes along the outside of a shape, or just on the shape. You can see here, this is a stroke, this is a fill. If you want to create these arrows, you can draw a line with the pen tool. P, click, enter. It's already red, so let's leave it at that, but you can change the color here. And then we're gonna go to window, stroke. In this case, it's already out because I use it a lot. You can pull up the stroke window. You go to arrowheads, one, whatever you want. There's tons of different ones. I recommend you do the most basic one. Just keeps things clean. The focus is on the information. It's fun to make pretty tech packs, but ultimately the purpose is to have something that can be read by your manufacturer. That's why we use the basic fonts. That's why we use all bold, or not all bold, yeah, bold, this is bold, but all caps. It's a little easier to read, because we're just trying to emphasize these details. But yeah, I'm going to show you a little trick. So you can take this and then window graphic styles, where you at? And then yeah, we have graphic styles, and you can create a graphic style. You can name it whatever you want, arrows. And now you can draw another one, and you can apply a style. And it's just an efficient way to, because if you're doing a lot of these, it can be kind of annoying. And if you want to do an arrow on one side only, you can just take it off, and then you can make a new style for this. But yeah, that's just a little pointer. And then I'll also show you quickly how to make a call out. Let's see, let's just draw this, or take this one out. All right, so we've created a copy of our garment. You're gonna want to expand this garment before you create, because we're gonna create a clipping mask. You're gonna go to object, expand, fill, object stroke, and do that a couple times. It's already expanded, so we don't have to do that again. But and then you're gonna do short key or quick key, shortcut, M on the keyboard that brings up a circle. We're gonna hold shift, click, bring up a circle, and if it's like this, just switch the fill and the stroke. We can do that by holding shift, and then clicking X. And we're gonna drag it to the part that we want to cover. So let's say we want to show this pocket. We want to show pocket detail. We're gonna drag it over, select the two, Control 7, boom, magic, and we can scale that. But yeah, that's how you create a clip and mask. That's how you create a call out, kind of like we did here. This is the inside of garment, but it's basically the same process. We took this and we took that off, we deleted that, and then we just added some things. But yeah, you'll have to draw. You have to not draw from scratch, but you'll have to come up with some things. You have to get creative. Like if you're showing something on the inside, a lot of our templates come with inside tag views and side seam views. This was not from our website. This was just drawn for the needs of the client. So this won't have anything like that, or didn't have anything like that included. But most of our design assets will. But anyway, moving on. We're on the artwork and trim specs page. I'm gonna go to the camera because I really need to emphasize something. You always need to include the dimensions of your artwork. I don't care how small, how big it is. If you don't include the dimensions, then you're not going to be in control of the true size of it. I know it can be a little difficult to visualize sometimes, like especially if you have a very large graphic. But you really need to take any steps you can to figure out the sizing of the graphic yourself, if at all possible, because if you don't decide it, then your garment manufacturer will have to, because they have to size it. They have to know the size of it, and if they don't get one, they'll make one, and you might not like that size. I've seen too many times people not give their graphics sizes, and I'm not talking 1080 pixels. It has to be real life measurement units of measurement to but yeah, I've seen it too many times, people being disappointed at their samples because they don't provide measurements. That's like a bare minimum thing. Like if you're only doing a few page tech pack, like that's like the bare minimum thing you need to include, and your flat sketches, of course, and colors, and some colors too, and artwork. But we'll talk more about artwork in a little bit. But yeah, include the measurements. That's so important. Width, height, etc. And we'll go back to Illustrator. Okay, yeah, always include dimensions. Always. And do it in the real life unit of measurement, okay? Because it's going to be measured in inches or centimeters, whatever you prefer. Just make sure you label it. Label your units. Going back to elementary math, label your units. It's very important. Again, going back to references, here we have a print reference. This is a Plastisol screen print in this instance. We have a print color, and then we just have some various notes on the artwork itself, how it should be printed. Let's see what else. Yeah, so we have a note here saying this is not actual size in the tech pack, saying that if you take this is not our size. As you can see, it's 5 inches. It's 4 by 5 inches. This is not. You can see here it's supposed to be 12. So that's basically telling them don't use this to print it or to create the screens because this is not the right size. Or at least use this without scaling it. And as you can see, we have a please use separate artwork file. I'm going to go back to the camera to explain a little bit more. So you include a separate artwork file because it decreases the size of the tech pack file itself, makes it easier to view and to go through and whatnot. And it's just a lot easier because your artwork will be in a separate place where it doesn't have to be scaled down to fit, because you notice how we had to scale down the artwork to fit the page, and we still include it in the page just to show what it looks like, where it goes and whatnot, but you notice we had to constrain it. But in the original artwork file, you won't have to do that because it will be original size, or it should be kept original size, whatever it was drawn at. Basically the size you want it to be, that's how the size it should be in the file, in the artwork file. Hopefully that makes sense. Back to Illustrator. Let's see, anything else? No, I believe that covers it. Always use units. Always include dimensions. Incredibly important. Continued artworks and trim specs. Here we have our satin care tags, and as you'll notice, these are actually the actual size. So our manufacturer can just go ahead and take these out from the tech pack, and or just copy from the tech pack and create according to our tech pack. And here we have the colors. You always want swatches of your stuff and label it. Here we have another reference just to help. As you can see here, we have our vector image, we have our labels, and we have our images. We have the language, the pictures, and the vector illustrations working all three together to bring our ideas to reality. Just remember that. Make sure you're doing that. We're labeling our size, and if you one nice way to, I'll go back to the camera to explain. So one nice way that you can help visualize your artwork size is you can print out your artwork. If it's bigger than 8.5 by 11, then you might not be able to print it on your computer. But even if it's just a little chest logo, like just printing it out and just putting it on top of a garment, even if you have to cut out the shape, just putting it on top of a garment you have, that helps you like visually see the size of it. It helps you imagine it better. And if you need to, you can even print on transparencies if you have them and put them over top of a garment, and just anything you can do to help you visualize the size, because that will be incredibly important, especially with things like tags. Like if you're gonna have a tag, you can make that same size tag. I'll have an Illustrator. So you like here, you can say, for example, you can take this and you can print it on a 8.5 by 11 paper, you know, at your house, library, school, whatever. And then you can have a pretty visceral idea, not even visceral, you can have a 4 size at scale idea of what that tag will be like. And that's a very good way so you don't come up with just a number, because here it says, you know, our actual measurements, but like 7 by 1.5. But in actuality, you know, this is shown differently. Like here, it's not a very good way of visualizing on here entirely. So I would put this into a 8.5 by 11 PDF and just print it out quickly, just to be certain I like the size. Moving on, this one has a lot of tags. So there's a few pages of these, and we can talk about what's actually in the blank tech pack template in a little bit. But here we're just talking about, we got 2 generic size tags that we just made a note to our manufacturer that, because sometimes, I'll talk on here, because sometimes you need to be as detailed as possible when it matters to you, because sometimes it won't matter to your brand as much as it does for other things, like at some certain points in the garment, you know what I mean? So as you can see here, we have all these other custom tags. We have a bunch of custom tags. But we're okay with not using custom tags for the size tags, just because that would increase production cost a little bit more. And I think there's four custom tags in this garment already, and woven labels, printed or printed satin labels, whatever. They're all not very cheap, so they just increase production but cost more. So our client was okay with not having custom size tags, and generic size tags do the job well enough. They were able to do two, and that kind of still imbued it with a little bit of brand personality. Going back to the continued artwork trims, we got one more page of trim specs. Here we just got our custom size tag things again. We have all the dimensions, fold line. These are end fold tags. We have the actual size in the tech pack. We were able to fit them all, so we just have them as actual size. Place according to the spec drawings. That's basically saying, like, hey, put them where we showed you. We put them here. We gave them measurements for where to put them. So yeah, basically just try to think as thoroughly as possible. Like, hey, where does this go? And it definitely takes a little bit of time, but it's worth, maybe making a tech pack, stepping away for a day or doing something else, or even like half a day, and then coming back to the next day, because you'll sometimes miss something. And it's definitely worth doing that, maybe even a few times. I know, obviously, you're going to have turnaround times you need to keep in mind, drops you need to make. But it's definitely worth the extra consideration, because these are ultimately something that will be used to eventually create, thousands of dollars of orders for you to your manufacturer. So it's worth putting in a little bit extra time to make sure you don't miss anything. But yeah, we just got, and we label everything, more arrows, color swatches, labeling what they're for. Pretty, it may seem very intimidating, but with time, you'll know, without even having to think like what to include. It's just automatic. It's eventually automatic, I suppose, intuitive. All right, now we're getting to the fun part. Bill of materials. So a bill of materials is basically a list of all the materials necessary to create your garment. Fabric, tags, if it's drawstring, elastic in our case, all that stuff, all that fun stuff. But yeah, so our tech pack templates have 3 bill of materials pages: one for fabrics, one for trims, and one for labels and tags, and any other extra stuff. Let's see. So in our materials, to keep things organized, and just all of them, we have a reference number, and we'll go back to that later, but that goes back to this. Just helps keep things organized, keeps things labeled. We have a brief description of what it is. In this case, it's fabric, so we're just talking about weight, whatever. You type. This is our main body fabric. If it was a lining, you'd label it lining, whatever. Unit of measurement, in this case, it's yards. Basic sample yardage for this case is often 3, because this will be our first sample. It's going to be a little bit more than usual with your sample always. And supplier. So this is vendor to source. So what that means is, if you are approaching a factory and they offer sourcing services and you put vendor to source, that means your factory will find that fabric for you. So in this case, the factory was finding the fabric for them. And then content, that's cotton, polyester, whatever. And then we have finishes. This is, in this case, we have anti-shrink finish, steam, and press. You want to minimize shrinking if possible, so I'd always recommend considering the pre-shrunk or anti-shrinking finish, whatever your factory offers or whatever you can source, because you don't want your garment shrinking, obviously. Just get it to as close as pre-shrunk as possible, I suppose. Yeah, because you don't want the garment to shrink in the laundry machine of your customer. Better to do it before. And then we have color. We have our Pantone color, Pantone TCX. Research colors before you make your tech pack, because depending on the material you'll do or the finish, it might be a different color depending on how it's dyed or whatever. So that'll be per case basis, but this is just dyed cotton, so it's just Pantone TCX, and we can do a separate video talking about Pantone colors more in depth. Just comment down below if you want to see something like that. Okay, trims. In this case, we only have a couple. We have our elastic waistband, and we have our braided drawstring. And these are both in yards. And then we have the quantity, and then supplier, vendor to source again. So they're sourcing that. And then colors. So like I was saying earlier about sometimes details not mattering so much. In this case, the content of the waistband was incredibly important to the client. We just wanted that body to be 100% cotton. So that's why we have 100% cotton on the drawstring, but this is kind of left open, and this is just white, because if you think about it, you can't even see that waistband. So as long as it's white, because if it was black, you may be able to see through this fabric, but as long as it's white, it's all good. So we left that open for our factory too, and it just makes it easier for them, because the less constraints you put on sourcing, like if you're telling them to source something, the less constraints you have on it, it's going to be a little bit easier for them to source that item. And then the most girthy one in this case is the labels and tags one. We just talk about all the tags that we have, and then we also have some other things, but we'll talk about those in a second. So yeah, we have our vendor to source, colors, etc., etc. Pretty self-explanatory. And we're labeling each one. So yeah, we go from, it doesn't go 1, 1, 2, it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, I guess you want it to be, these are all materials, these are all things included. So you want it to be following in ascending order. I believe ascending, yeah. Excuse me. And then we have a few things here you'll notice that client is providing. This is things that our client provided to the factory that were to be included but had already been sourced. So say for example, if you have tags already, you can send those to the factory, but you still have to include them in the bill of materials. But you just you make a note of it, and you're just basically saying that, hey, we're providing these. So that's what we did here. Hang tag, in this case it was a hang tag, a zipper bag, and a poster. We'll see those again later, but yeah, client to provide. And some of these details didn't matter just because the client was providing them. It wouldn't really matter to the factory what content or colors they were. They would know what they were for just because we have them. And we'll have instructions for those later. Anyway, this is material details. This is kind of a quick visual guide to kind of recap, because this is all just words and numbers, but this is a nice visual way of, hey, this is what's in our garment. We have pictures. Going back to pictures. Pictures are incredibly important, but we also have vector images of our tags and whatnot. But yeah, you just put a little brief picture or vector image of what it is, the component is. See here we have our tags, zip bag, the poster folded, size tag. You notice we have both separate size tags, even though they are just opposite colorways of each other. Still need to put, if any, every single different item. Yes, we have our fabric, waistband or elastic, I guess, drawstring, all the tags, etc., etc. And then we have description. The description is body fabric, placement, body. Description, the elastic, placement. Basically, you're just putting where it goes. And CF, that's center front. CB is center back. In case you ever see those again, that's pretty common in fashion parlance, fashion design parlance, also pattern making parlance. Placement, and we'll have a video talking about common terms in the fashion design industry coming soon. So stay tuned for that. And we're also going to have a dictionary ebook for all this kind of stuff, the basic language of fashion design. Anyway, so yeah, placement, body, C specs. That's basically tell them to double check the flats here, our technical flat sketches specs. And it's pretty self-explanatory. Zip bag, label, hang tag, see notes. That's referencing what we'll see in a second. And now we have points of measurement. And all this isn't going to be a guide for how to know the measurements of your garment, because that will really depend on the garment itself. But in this case, it's a pair of shorts. So, obviously like inseam, waist, what have you, all those things. And we're going to talk about some resources later on that can help you figure out what measurements to put for yours. But just know that you're using this step to highlight the measurement points and how to measure them. That's incredibly important. And we're labeling them, and whatnot. We'll see why we label them later. But yeah, and we also have some basic notes about measurements between stitching and the edges. You can be in depth with this as you'd like. I'd recommend having at least, I think, a dozen or so measurement points is enough, just so it can be as close as possible as to how you want it to be. And then you can see again here we have in-depth or inside center front view to show the distance between the drawstring. And just, you can be as detailed as you'd like with these, because the more details the better oftentimes. But yeah, and we're using the red arrows again to show the distance between things. And this is why you use flats as well, because they're drawn flat and it's easier to show the measurements in that case. When they are drawn flat, it's just so much easier to show the measurements. And you're typically showing these in black and white. It's just a lot easier, and it's less distracting when when something's in color and there's a huge horse right here. It's just easier to take off all the graphics. Here we left on the woven labels, but just because they're out of the way anyway. But yeah, typically you take off all the artwork, take off anything that's not necessary, take off any extraneous elements, and just do the black and white garment flats. Awesome. All right, measurement specs. Here, this is where you put the actual measurement of the area. Here, everything's labeled. It corresponds to our number that we have here. And then we have a brief description here. Waistband depth. That's basically, hey, that's waistband depth. Pretty self-explanatory. Make sure the code of everything matches, especially with this too. Make sure the codes match. That's very important. You'll want those to match. Waistband, just talking about different things. Obviously, every garment's going to be different. I'll talk about some resources in a little bit that will help you knowing what to measure. Here we have a tolerance. So if you think about it, humans are sewing your garments, not robots. So there's going to be some human error, even if it's just incredibly small. And you're going to have to allow some tolerance, just being realistic. Because, yeah, they're being not cut by humans, but they're being sewn by humans. So not always cut by humans, but always sewn by humans, at least for now. But yeah, so you have to allow for some sort of error. What it's going to be is going to depend on your brand and whatnot, but those resources I'm going to talk about later, what can help you with that. And then sample size medium, we have that marked here. And also label your unit of measurement if you do inches or centimeters. In this case, we did domestic production, United States production. So we just did inches, but for you, it might be centimeters. If you're doing overseas, it'll be easier for your manufacturer. If you just do centimeters, they can always convert it. But just make sure you label. Please label. Didn't mean to do that. Okay. And then remarks, we have measurements after all finishes. If you think about it, the measurements that we provide in the tech pack, that's how you want it to be after everything is over. Yeah. You don't want to have them make it that measurement and then pre-shrink it, and then it's too small. It's not correlating to what you had in the tech pack. So, and the factory will have to figure out the measurements, and then it'll be the factory's job to figure out how to get it to this point after pre-shrunk. after all finishes, but it's their job, not yours. But this is what the final result will be, so that's why we have after all finishes. Sample size medium, just reiterating what we did on the front page. And this is a circle method used. Basically just means measuring tables used. You don't have to label that because it's basically standard. And then we have our medium, so we just have a red highlight box, emphasize that, and we have our medium measurements because this is our first sample. And then we have notes here on the blank tech pack template. The last few pages are just notes for extras or whatever you want to do with them. And here in this case, we just made them packaging instructions. Yeah, we're steaming and pressing the garment. What that is if you think about a garment, when your client gets it, your customer gets it, you want it to be as clean, as crisp as possible. You're not gonna waste your time air draw or steaming all the garments when you get them. It's best off the factory has the infrastructure to do it. Most of the time, the bigger ones have that infrastructure, so it's best to just have them do it and get it to them without any wrinkles and have that brand new look and whatnot. But anyway, yeah, here we're just talking about tags. You can packaging instructions. You can do whatever you want with these notes pages, but in this case, the customer likes to include posters with theirs, so that's what we did in the bag. Yeah, and just again using pictures and notes to effectively communicate our design and how our customer, because you want it to be at the point how the customer will receive it. You know, because with a tech pack, what you're also doing is you're testing the capabilities of your manufacturer, how well they can follow instructions, because it's their job to follow instructions. Part of their job sometimes, most of the time, all the time, to follow instructions, follow your instructions. So tech packs are a nice way to test a factory's competence, you know, and to keep testing their competence, because, you know, they can get new management, they can get new workers, etc. Things can change always with factories. So yeah, just a good way to test manufacturers, and also a good way to test yourself too, because if they're not coming the most, you know, your samples aren't the best, then it's also a good idea to check your tech pack too, just to make sure, hey, is our tech pack good, or is it missing anything, or, you know, what questions would it leave? So essentially that's the tech pack template, or the example tech pack. This isn't really an illustrator how to create a tech pack. This is more so an introduction, a guide, and I would love to show you guys too. On our website, we just released a article on what tech packs are and how to create manufacturer ready tech pack. Yeah, basically we talked about all this stuff, but it's nice to have it in writing too, so you can see all the things. Yeah. And just, this is for free. This is available on our website, ONTHEBIASDESIGN.com. I'm kind of just skimming to make sure we didn't miss anything. Thank you guys for watching. I seriously appreciate it. And, we're just getting started, so if you want to see any tutorials or anything, just let me know and we can talk about it. We're definitely going to talk about Pantone, and we'll probably get into how to create. Oh yeah, let's talk about delivering. So maybe that's the camera. So how are you going to deliver your tech pack? Well, I mean, it depends on your situation, because it's, the thing about tech packs is there's no golden standard. There's common industry practices, certainly, but there's no formal golden standard for tech packs. There's things that you should include for sure, and we went over that, and the article goes over that. So, you know, follow that, but some brands include things that others don't. You know, it really depends on the needs of your brand. But yeah, to deliver, it's pretty much common practice to just do PDF. If you're an illustrator, you can go ahead and save as PDF, what have you. It's pretty self-explanatory. But yeah, before you export, you're gonna want to select everything. Like I was saying earlier, you're gonna go select everything, expand appearance. Do that a couple times, but before you do that, and I mentioned this in the article, before you export or before you expand everything and save the unoutlined version as well, so you can go back and change things if you need to. And I'm just gonna reference the article now again, just because this one's quite thorough. Okay, yeah, expand everything, because the point of that is so it's not a problem. Like if something needs to get scaled, makes it easier to get viewed in the computers of your clients. And yeah, like I was saying earlier, Myriad Pro fonts, I know they're not the most exciting aesthetically, but they are incredibly easy to read, and most computers have them. So yeah, you're gonna want a PDF of your tech pack. You're gonna want to give them a PDF that's outlined. You're gonna want to give them the artwork. So you're gonna put this all in one folder. You're gonna give them the PDF outlined. You're gonna give them the artwork file unoutlined. No, well, depending on what it is. But yeah, just give them the artwork file at its original size, and that would basically be everything. Just give them anything that they need. I mean, the most important thing obviously is your tech pack outlined. And I'll just show you how to do that quickly. We'll pretend this is outlined. If I outline it, it would be a little slow. You go to PDF. You just outline this or save. They're pretty simple, but I'll show you something important to conclude. I would preserve Illustrator editing capabilities. So what this means is, if your factory needs to open this up in Illustrator, they can, and they can edit it. But they won't be able to edit your text because you outlined it. So yeah, just a little note. Let's see. Let's go back to the article. Conclusion. Yeah, so you might have to upload if you're. I'd recommend doing a zip file, creating a zip file. You can just do that by right-clicking on the folder, and you might have to share that as a link, depending on the size of it. You probably will. Most tech packs end up being pretty big. So yeah, just the easier you can make it for your factory to receive it and understand it and read it. Obviously, I know it's a lot, but hopefully the resources such as this video and the article can help you. But yeah, time to talk about the resources I was talking about earlier. Ooh. Okay, my ears are getting a little flat. Okay, we'll go in order of most essential, but basically these are books. I have these linked in the article as well. Number one, we have Sewing Seams for Tech Packs. This is a brief guide. It's a very concise guide to creating tech packs, and includes example pages of tech packs, and it's not the most. It's very visually a very good visual reference. It doesn't so much tell you what to include. It's mostly visual, but it is nevertheless nice to have. Whereas, our guide, our article is more. It's more it gives more explanation, more so. Obviously, this is visual more so, but it's a nice resource to have. Definitely worth it. And the next one is 101 Sewing Seams. This is a great supplementary book for creating tech packs. Basically, it just helps you select, describe, and be correct in your seam selection. Simple enough. It helps you understand what seam or construction or finishing details are best for your garment and your design, and helps you visualize things too a little bit mentally. Next up, Fashionpedia. You've probably seen this before. This is a basically a fashion dictionary, fashion encyclopedia of fashion design as a discipline. Has different garment silhouettes, but where this can come in handy with tech packs is, you know, your job in a tech pack is to label things. You're labeling pockets, you're labeling what kind of pocket it is. And say, for example, you are out and about, or you see something and you don't know what kind of pocket it is, you don't know what kind of trim it is, you don't know what kind of button it is. This is a nice, concise resource because this has about everything, you know, most common things. So you can kind of use this as a quick reference guide and see like, oh, okay, this is a Western yoke button shirt. Okay, now I know what to label my garment as. Or this just helps with labeling things, makes it a little bit easier, and it's also very informative. Next up, this is the spec manual. This is going to help you know what points of measurement to use for your garment. Because like I was saying earlier, every garment's different, so I can't cover everything in one video about like, hey, this is how you measure this garment, because there's really quite lengthy books about that. So yeah, this will help you. So if, say for example, you have a fit reference for your garment, you can go ahead and use something like this to help you figure out what points of measurement to use. And if, disclaimer, obviously there's Google. It's not impossible to find out how to measure garments, quite easy. But things like this are much more in depth, and you'll be able to be much more detailed. And stuff like this will help you, because online there's only so much. There's the basic measurements, but sometimes for more specific things, you'll need a little bit more explanation. And this is why this book is a good resource. This one's a little old, but it's still very relevant. And basically the more advanced version of that book, the more advanced version of that book is the Complete Guide to Size Specification and Technical Design. This is a very good book. It's very, very, very detailed, very in depth. Goes over a lot of things of technical design, and it's the most advanced resources of all the ones I've showed you, but it's very nice to have. Say for example, you have a question about how to measure a very specific type of pocket or whatever. You'll probably find it in here, more likely than you would in the other one. But, you know, they're all nice to have because this will basically cover all the bases you need. And you don't need all these to create tech packs. It's just, you know, the more advanced they'll be and the more detailed they'll be. But, you know, the great tools to have in your design toolbox, I suppose. And then the last one's kind of supplemental, but this is the Fashion Design Business Manual. There's some pages of, say, for example, fabric uses and some other things that help with tech packs a little bit. Obviously, it's a fashion business manual book, but I mean, if you're considering it anyway, that can help you with tech packs. So, and then of course, there's our article. This is available on our website for free. You can view, you can follow along. Say for example, like if you prefer reading to watching videos, when it comes to learning information, depending on how you want. And I will also mention again that, give me an Illustrator. So we have these tech pack templates available on our website, onTheBiasDesign.com. These are fully editable. These are unoutlined. You can change the text, whatever, change whatever, add whatever you want to add, take out whatever you want to take out. You can change the order of the pages. Let's see over here. And then this one's also included. Let me go ahead and show you the listing. Resources, tech pack. So yeah, we have the tech pack template, 19 pages, I believe. And it will just, yeah, pretty self-explanatory. And then also too, all of our fashion design flats come with a full tech pack template. Well, blank tech pack template, but you know, you can follow along with this video or with the article and create your next tech pack, hopefully. I hope you have found this video useful. As you may so readily be able to tell, this is something that is new to us. So thank you for your patience, and hopefully you didn't mind the webcam quality too much. I think the audio is well enough. But again, if you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment. I know this wasn't the most Illustrator in-depth tutorial, but if you have any questions about Illustrator, I'll be more than happy to answer them. And I should mention, before I go, we offer a free twice weekly Adobe Illustrator class every Tuesday and Thursday. If you have questions about how to, you can go ahead and sign up for this. ONTHEBIASDESIGN.com/classes is completely free. It's on Zoom. And if you have any questions about creating a tech pack in Illustrator, we'll go ahead and answer that. This first video was kind of more so a general overview, because a lot of the elements in these tech packs, in terms of actually like creating, are fairly self-explanatory as long as you have basic knowledge. But yeah, we're gonna drop some more tutorials on how to use Illustrator, and you can apply those lessons here. This is more so just to be a general introduction to tech packs in general. But yeah, hopefully you found this video useful. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. We'll be more than happy to get back to you. Hope you enjoyed. Happy designing, and have a blessed rest of your day. This has been Jack from On The Bias Design.